Praise be to the heavens that be that Vancouver Canucks superstar Elias Pettersson finally scored another goal yesterday. It was one that we didn't actually think was his until the very end of the game, when we had seen the Quinn Hughes 300 stuff that went down afterwards, but hey, Petey's got another one. He's got 2 goals on the year, certainly trying to fight back against that D- rating that he was given by the folks over on The Athletic, based off of his play in the first 10 games of the season. But Elias Pettersson has been a dazzlingly interesting topic of conversation throughout the Vancouver Canucks season so far. His woes of not being able to score all too much, which carried over from last playoffs into the start of this season. Just the FYI, folks, Elias Pettersson is up to 5 points in 11 games so far. He is on pace for 37 points on the year, which would be a significant decline and a terrible point production metric for a guy making $11.6 million a year. I mean, Petey has 5 points on the season, right? He had games in the prior few years where he would just get that amount of points in total. Like, remember the 5-point games that he would have against, like, Colorado and Philadelphia and stuff? I think that's the thing, right? Let's actually Google that. Yeah, so Pettersson has had 5 games where he has had 5+ points, and they occurred in the 2018-19 season and the 2022-2023 season. Kind of funny how Petey has 5 games like this, but they've only occurred in 2 different seasons. Anyways, Pettersson only has 5 points in 11 games this year, so he's definitely not in that same caliber of play. And what I wanted to do was dive into some other comments made by former Vancouver Canucks head coach Bruce Boudreau in response to some of the things that we have been talking about with Pettersson. We had spoken about Boudreau a few days ago as well. He had some extra things to say about the Canucks and Petey, but now I wanted to dive into some of these other things because we have ourselves a new article published by Ben Kuzma on The Province going over Bruce Boudreau's solutions to Elias Pettersson's struggles. He doesn't look excited, and he gets frustrated very easily. When you're a coach, you're also like a psychiatrist. Your job is to see what makes 23 guys tick, Boudreau said on Petey. The article will be linked in the description if you want to go ahead and read that yourself. And, oh, I love this so much. Included in the piece is an image of Bruce Boudreau giving Petey the thumbs up in a game against the Columbus Blue Jackets on December 14th, 2021. Look at that smile. He's happy for his guy. Let's go out there and read some of the comments here that Ben Kuzma is able to get out of Bruce Boudreau in regards to Petey. He doesn't look excited when he plays, and he gets frustrated very easily, Boudreau said Monday. I've always said when you're a coach, you have to act like a psychiatrist. I told JT Miller, I'm going to come after you like the head of a snake. And he said, put it on me. He wants that, and I don't think Petey likes that kind of thing. You have to treat him differently. My first game there, he said he'd be a good penalty killer, and I gave him a chance. Then he wanted to play against the best. It's communication, and Rick Tocchet might be doing the same thing, but I don't know. It's not working. The article, Kuzma then writes this: Pettersson said his relationship with Boudreau was awesome. Tocchet coaches like he played. Very old school, in your face, big hits and big points. He has tried to move the Pettersson motivation meter with instruction and purposely placing veteran wingers like DeBrusk and Sprong on his flank to develop quick chemistry. It didn't work. The latest alignment was Archdeep Bains and Connor Garland playing with Pettersson. And then we had Pius Suter yesterday, wherein Pettersson was able to get himself a goal. Of course, it wasn't an obvious goal, but he still scored a goal. I will say this bleeds into a lot of the other discourse we've had about Tocchet in the past few weeks as well, how his style isn't really, like, as finesse-based as, let's say, some other coaches can be. Like, Bruce Boudreau gave Pettersson the rein to do what Pettersson wants to do. Rick Tocchet, it's not like he's not doing that, but Tocchet himself played a lot more like a brute force, work ethic, hard forechecking, battling kind of guy. And we had talked about this already in a bunch of other videos, but players that play in that same mold, they excel a lot under Rick Tocchet's coaching style. The JT Millers of the world, the Garlands, the Dakota Joshuas, the Hoglanders, these guys excelled. But Petey doesn't really do that. That's not his style. And so when he's being forced to do similar things, it might not actually work, and we see that he tries to be physical at times, but unfortunately, he just falls down a lot. It's very unfortunate. But for Bruce Boudreau, there wasn't too much of a demand to be that hard-nosed kind of a player. And you can say that was a good thing for Pettersson, maybe a bad thing for some other players, because there was, this idea floating around that talked about the Canucks locker room as like a country club, and there was this divide, like, oh, Bo Horvat versus JT Miller, and the young guys and the old guys. It was like a weird thing that happened during that COVID season, or shortly after the COVID season. Like, Braden Holtby was apparently involved in the two. I don't know, just some rumors that floated around from the time. But Boudreau, speaking out about the Canucks and Pettersson, he says this: "As a player, I knew what made me play better. And back in the 70s, the coaches never talked to you because they never knew you. You could be frustrated as hell, and there were always demands. And I always wanted to coach. I said I'd never be like that because I wanted to get to know the players. In today's world, the players want to know you care about them before they start caring about you. I've never had an uprising of players not wanting to play for me." Boudreau then goes out there and wonders what happened to aligning Pettersson with elite talent. Why not Miller and Besser? He had Pettersson on alignments with them and Bo Horvat. Last season, Petey played on 11 different line combinations, 8 different wingers and 4 who are playing elsewhere: Kuzmenko, Mikheyev, Lafferty, and Lindholm. The article then brings up this idea of reuniting the Lotto line, just kind of seeing what other options are there for Pettersson to play with top-tier talent, but this kind of takes away from, I think, what Rick Tocchet is trying to do with this roster. You can notice that he doesn't want to go all top-heavy. He's not trying to put the best players at the very top of the lineup so they're playing all the time. Pettersson, Miller, Besser, okay, one line. And in the second line, you've got Garland, DeBrusk, and, I don't know, Suter or Bluger, whomever else you want to put there on the second line spot. If they re-signed Elias Lindholm, he'd be there. And then just work down the lineup with each of the talent diversifying itself. There seems to be an emphasis on spreading the wealth, spreading out the talent. And for Pettersson, who is technically supposed to be the best player on the team, he's the highest paid, he's got a 100-point season in his belt. I think a lot of people would classify Pettersson as being a part of this new wave of centers that is starting to take over the National Hockey League. To have him not playing with Miller and Besser is straight up just to emphasize that point that the Canucks want to be a deep team that brings valuable play to each line. And for Pettersson, unfortunately, we haven't really seen him be able to carry his own line without the talents of an elite winger alongside of him just yet. Sure, Connor Garland is great. We love Connor Garland. But Connor Garland never scored a 70-point season like Andrei Kuzmenko did. He never scored 39 goals in a season like Andrei Kuzmenko did either. He doesn't have a 100-point season like JT Miller has, and he doesn't have a 40-goal season like Brock Besser has. Elias Pettersson is playing with some of the worst line mates he has had in his career if you go back to last playoffs. I mean, no disrespect to Sam Lafferty and Ilya Mikheyev, but my gosh, those guys were not it. And so the idea of playing Petey with just some better players, not even like better players in general, but just like the best players, it does kind of get you wondering what the thought process is there. And also you have to think too, hey, when Pettersson does play on the power play, he doesn't really look as effective as he did anymore. So what? Is it all just kind of mental? Is it really him not playing with better players and not being able to do what he's been capable of doing in the past? Who really knows? I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, because for Pettersson in the game he had yesterday, sure, he scored the goal, but aside from that tip, there were a few chances that he had that were really good, grade A chances right in front. He walked out from the corner in front of the goal on the backhand on Lukas Dostal, but ended up shooting it too high over the goal. Things like that, just kind of small moments where he was able to find a really good scoring chance, but just not bury it at the end. I feel like that has been more of a pattern with Petey over the past few months than we've ever seen before. I think the shot that he had against the New Jersey Devils, the one off the faceoff where he had years to load up and shoot it, only to just fire a weak one into Markstrom's chest, that may be the biggest example of something not going Pettersson's way when you really would expect the contrary. Like, we think that Pettersson can be this 40-goal, 100-point guy. We think it because we know it. We know that he's that good. But for some reason, there's just been a lack of that kind of a showcase lately. So I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Elias Pettersson and these comments made by Bruce Boudreau in regards to Petey and his overall play? Do you think there's something else at work here? Do you think there's more than meets the eye? And what are your thoughts as to how to fix this in general? Do you think it's as easy as saying, okay, all you gotta do is just play him with better players. All you gotta do is just toss him on here, onto this line? Or is there an entire re-evaluation that needs to be done here to make it work. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.